Hi guys, in this video we're going to be looking at a lesson that you can do involving acids and alkalis, which ties into anything to do with chemical reactions. So the mixing of two other substances to produce a new substance. This is quite an engaging experiment for kids to try, and it's something that they grasp really easily. They've all heard about acids. Some of them have heard about alkalis or bases, but that's by far the less well-known one. But they seem to grasp the overall concept here quite readily, and that's why I think it's quite a powerful lesson. It's one that is more explorative. You can let them be quite free with what they're doing. You don't need to be too prescriptive, but there are some certain some guidelines that you need to insist upon if they're going to get the best out of their learning with it. So the procedure itself, I've got three solutions here. So I have a solution of hydrochloric acid, which is acidic. I've got a solution of sodium hydroxide, which is alkali, and both of these are 0.1 molar. So that's really the highest concentration that we really want to be using in a primary school setting. So nice low concentrations, no more dangerous for you than vinegar is really. But don't let the kids know that. They are still acids and alkalis and need to be treated with respect. And then I've got just H2O, water. The other thing I have is universal indicator solution, and this is going to be used to tell us whether the solution we have in this test tube at any one time is more acidic, more alkali, or neutral. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off just by establishing that this is in fact neutral. So, I mean, I would probably give them a little bit more preamble beforehand. You know, ask them a little bit about, well, you know, what do they know about acids? What are acids? Do they know what the opposite of an acid is? What do you think will happen? And this is sort of your in question. This is the part that then stimulates the rest of the lesson here. What do you think will happen if you mix an acid and an alkali together? You'll get a surprising a surprising variety of responses. Some will say that you might get some sort of fizzing, you might get the production of a gas. It might make some sort of super strong, really dangerous hybrid compound. But you know, this experiment is going to let them actually discover it for themselves. So first of all, we create we put our universal indicator into the water, and we can explain to them that where universal indicator is concerned, green means neutral. So we have a nice green solution here. Okay. We then explain to them that if universal indicator goes red, it's more acidic, and if it goes blue, it's more alkali. Now you don't necessarily have to tell them which one of these is the acid and which one is the alkali. You can let them discover that. So for instance, I actually really have my eye protection on at this point already. Insist upon eye protection. You cannot do this without eye protection. But what you can do at this point is they get two pipettes, one for one test tube, one for the other test tube. Not technically pipettes, just droppers, but and they're going to start off by just doing a single drop. So this is where you can insist upon correct procedure. I want to be being very methodical with this. So just one drop into the test tube, and we can see it's still green at the moment, but if I give it a little shake, you can see the colour changes quite quickly and quite dramatically. So that has gone to acidic, okay, about pH 5, pH 6, something like that. Okay, so that's clearly our acid in that test tube. Now let's, again, following a strict procedure, we're going to put exactly the same amount of the base, of the alkali, into it. So one drop, and this is where they find out what actually happens. So we can see it's gone a little bit, there's a little bit of sort of dark coloration, a bit blue at the top. If I give this a shake now, well actually we've gone much too far the other way, so obviously that's a little bit stronger than I intended there. Or maybe I gave a little bit of a bigger drop there. So that's gone quite far the other way. That's gone to quite a dark blue colour, which tells us it's gone really quite alkali. Which wasn't what I intended to happen, but let's see if we can remedy this. So with a little bit of experimentation, we should be able to get it so that the two actually cancel out. So I'll try this here. I've added just a tiny wee bit more acid. Now, I'm at the disadvantage of being colourblind, so that might be slightly on the red side, I don't know. I'm hoping it's green. Looks green to me. So that should now be neutral, hopefully. But all we're looking for is the case to experiment with putting equal drops of acid and alkali in. So if I put 2 drops of the acid in, 1, 2, give it a shake, very definitely red again. And if I balance that with the alkali, 1, 2, no, that definitely wasn't enough. Too far the other way. Not quite getting it right, and I think the concentrations here might just be slightly off, to be honest. Or perhaps there was some residue in one of the test tubes already. There we go. Looking a bit better. But the kids can experiment with it, and either way, at any point they should be able to get it back to green without too much work, as long as they're very cautious and very methodical with how they measure it out. So the next step that you could do is explain to them what's actually going on here, and this is definitely getting up to high school level stuff now. But particularly your kids that have some enthusiasm for science, they'll want to know this stuff, and if you're capable of teaching it to them, why not do it? So we have 2 chemicals here, 2 compounds. We've got sodium hydroxide, which is made of a sodium, an oxygen, and a hydrogen. And we've got hydrochloric acid, which is just a hydrogen and a chlorine. Well, what we've proved, every time we make it neutral, don't think that is neutral at the moment, but every time we make it neutral, we're proving that basically we're bringing it back to being water again. So we know that water is being produced, because water is neutral. So what's water made of? Well, it's made of an oxygen and 2 hydrogens. Okay? So every time that this solution goes green, you know that you've got water back in it. Well, what other 2 chemicals does that leave? It leaves us with a sodium and a chlorine. So if we combine them, we get the other product of this reaction, which is sodium chloride, or salt in this case. So the other thing that you learn from doing this is every time you mix equal quantities of acids and bases, or acids and alkalis, you get the production of water and a salt. And in this case, it's good old table salt, so sodium chloride. So a really fun experiment for them to try. Very easy to set up. You just need to have the correct equipment, but perfectly easy to do in a primary setting. Cheers.